This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
There's something remarkable happening in Alberta right now, friends, something unusual. And as far as I know, something unprecedented, as 26 at last count recall petitions, 23 of them targeting UCP MLAs and cabinet ministers have been launched. Not a fringe protest or a one-off grievance. Anytime you've got more than 20 incidents of something happening, no matter which way you slice it or no matter where you fall on the issue, you must acknowledge it's a thing. Organized, province-wide political anger is being expressed through a tool that very few Albertans have ever seen used at this scale. And at the center of much of that effort, although not kickstarting it all, she's going to clarify in just a second, is a group called AB Resistance. It's Alberta Resistance, and its founder, Marg Tokar. Supporters describe her as a grassroots organizer. You're about to hear her story, and I bet it'll surprise a lot of you. But Marg and her team is providing supports for voters that are utilizing a lawful way of pushing back against a government that they feel just isn't listening or isn't achieving the mandate that it set out, that it sought from Albertans. Now, critics say that these recall efforts are frivolous. They're unlikely to succeed, and they risk deepening political polarization. We'll get into it in a special episode of the show. That's coming up in 30 seconds. First, we want to let you know that this episode of Real Talk happens because of the presenting sponsorship of our friends at RapidX Financial. You know, the crypto world moves fast, but your trust in an exchange cannot be a gamble, and that's why we're proud to partner with RapidX Financial, a made-in-Alberta solution backed by the same experts behind those Rapid Cash ATMs you've been seeing across the country for 25 years. You know, that's a real Alberta success story. Well, RapidX makes it easy to get started with 3 easy ways to trade. One of their physical crypto ATMs. They've got an over-the-counter desk for discrete, larger value trades, or for folks that could use a human helping hand, and they've also got a secure online platform. That's what we're showing you now at rapidxfinancial.com. Because you're hearing about this on Real Talk, a special offer for you. When you go to rapidxfinancial.com using the promo code Ryan50, that's Ryan50, they're going to knock 50% off fees on all of your online Interac e-transfer trades. RapidX Financial is secure, it's FinTrack registered, and critically, it's non-custodial, meaning that you always control your keys. That's a huge deal. That's rapidxfinancial.com, promo code Ryan50. Real talk, real Bitcoin at rapidxfinancial.com. No matter which way you slice it, these recall petitions are a real test of Alberta's recall legislation. It's a test or an indicator, a barometer of public trust in Alberta's UCP government and of how much political pressure can be generated outside of the ballot box between elections. And that's the real sticking point for a lot of people. So let's get into it today with the person that is directly helping lead that charge as we welcome to the Real Talk studio in the historic Mercer Warehouse in downtown Edmonton in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West, the founder of Alberta Resistance, or AB Resistance, Marg Tokar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ryan. And it is AB Resistance because there is an Alberta Resistance as well.
We want to get, we do have a bit of an audio challenge right now, Marg, so we're going to get that figured out. Johnny's going to troubleshoot it right away. We want to make sure that you can hear Marg, of course. I'll jump into our live chat, powered by Park Power right now, to see where Real Talkers are landing on this. Marg Tokar coming up in just a moment. Interesting point here from Kathy, who says, you know, it always makes me shake my head when people on the left are called snowflakes, when people on the right tend to have complete meltdowns over things. An interesting thing, Kathy, that we'll get get to in this conversation is whether or not this is a left versus a right issue. Now, folks utilizing their common sense and their powers of observation will no doubt look at this and say, well, there's 23 UCP MLAs that are targeted out of a total of 26 recall petitions. So this obviously has to be something that's left versus right. But Marg, that's not the story with you, isn't it? When I learned a little bit more about you, your background is not a raging lefty. You're not a left extremist.
I am not a lefty. I am not a righty. I am, at this point in time, I have no affiliation with any political party. I started out, I've been a conservative all my life. It was just an automatic vote. I was never an advocate, a political advocate. I would vote and go home until the next election. And I'm embarrassed to admit that I really didn't pay attention to politics and what was going on in my province for many years. COVID woke me up, as I think it did a lot of people, and I started paying attention. And I was questioning then. When it came to the campaign, Danielle Smith's campaign with the UCP, I was watching closely. And I really started having some questions then. There were a lot of videos coming out that were not what she was telling Albertans. I'll tell you, the line for me, the line in the sand was just prior to the election, when I had a canvasser come to my door and assure me that once the campaign was over and Danielle Smith was elected, the party would be getting rid of her. When I was told that, and I'd heard that from other people.
These are people knocking on your door ahead of the election?
You bet.
On behalf of the Conservatives?
On behalf of the UCP.
That's a pretty wild thing to say.
Not really, because I heard it from other people as well. So, yes, wild, but I wasn't the only one that heard that. And that was a result of her being questioned over and over again about these videos that were coming forward that were completely opposite of what she was telling us. But that was my line in the sand. When I closed the door, I knew I wouldn't be voting UCP and I wouldn't be voting Conservative.
But your vote is up for grabs in any election?
My
is that
vote
typically
is
how you rolled?
I myself, ABR, we don't look at, and I want to be very clear about this, we don't support the UCP, we don't support the NDP, we don't support a political party. We support policies that are for Albertans.
When you talk about ABR, you're referencing AB Resistance, correct? This is your group. People can check out abresistance.ca. That's where they'll find a list of active recalls in Alberta. I'm taking a look at it right now. There's 26 listed on the page. 23 of them are UCP MLAs or cabinet ministers. There's 2 NDP MLAs that are targeted with recall petitions. And then there's one that, what are you calling it? A stall
recall.
A stall recall. That's down in Lethbridge.
It is.
Around Nathan Newdorf.
Yes.
What's going on in Lethbridge? What sets this one apart?
Well, when we spent over a year educating Albertans on their right, their legal right to recall their MLA. Were they not responsive, breach of trust? Actually, they didn't have to have all of those, but we spent that year doing that. And we did consider that this might happen. Someone may come forward and file a recall and then do nothing in order to not have a recall. What's happened in Lethbridge is looking like something very different. I first heard about Lethbridge when a group that we had organizing there that had contacted us, they were getting ready, had questions, they had a website, they had canvassers, they were ready to go. And when they went to file, they were told that there was already a recall filed for Nathan Newdorf. So they jumped on and contacted the person that filed. and got nothing. So we thought, okay. They kept at it for a while, still got nothing. So we thought, okay, this is what's happened here. Someone has jumped in to file in order to not have a recall. Then a couple of our the organizers there that were very persistent got a response from the recall filer. Ryan Tanner was his name, and asked to meet with his coordinator to sign up for canvassing. So when they arrived, they met a gentleman who had no idea what recalls were, was from Lethbridge West, and according to these people that met with them, he had not ever spoken with Ryan Tanner, did not know Ryan Tanner. When one of them asked him, how do you come to be here then with this paperwork? And his response was that he had instructions from Saria Seaborn, who works in Nathan Newdorf's office. So immediately they walked away and went and filed a complaint with EA.
We're getting the tea, the inside scoop on what's happening down in Lethbridge. Now,
Yes.
now you want it to be clear to me in our conversation before this interview that you've not initiated any of these recall petitions. In fact, it would be inaccurate for me to introduce you as the person or the organizer behind 23 or 26 recall petitions, correct?
I want to be very, very clear. We do not initiate, we do not organize, as neither do unions, and neither does the NDP ever had anything to do with initiating, organizing, or directing any recall.
Probably common sense to suggest lots of NDP supporters and those affiliated with the NDP are involved in supporting the recalls.
There
though.
certainly may be.
Yeah.
There may be teachers, there may be healthcare workers, any number of different people in different walks of life. Yes. But none, I can attest to that because we have had every recall come to us asking for support for basically what we do is we walk them through the process, the recall process. There's lots of questions, and we've been over and under and through the Recall Act. So they would come to us with that, and we still support them all the way through with the same thing.
What problem do recalls solve, do you think, that the traditional election organizing doesn't? There's a good number of people, it's anecdotal, I'll acknowledge, but a good number of people, including in feedback to this show, are saying, why aren't these folks in 20-plus ridings organizing for the next election? Why not do this leading up to a point where you can impact real change in real meaningful ways, the way that we've typically done it for decades?
I think, to my point of view, this has mobilized a lot of people who will head into the next election ready and knowing what to do and standing up and getting their neighbors to stand up. I equate a recall to a job evaluation. Every person, maybe you don't, but every person goes through that usually once a year.
I would say we go through it during and after every
day?
show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go with that.
We have an audience that evaluates
I'll
my
go with
performance
that.
on a regular
Understood.
basis.
Understood.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's something out of the ordinary. And the recall, Bill 54 gave them that opportunity. I will say that we were surprised when we got, all of a sudden, we've got an avalanche of, but there were reasons for that too. We had Jenny Jeremy. Jenny Jeremy was at one point in time a board member for ABR.
Folks will know her. She's been on the show before. Correct me if I'm wrong, an environmental scientist, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Generally speaking, anyway, she's very passionate about protecting the planet, and she's long been an advocate for that, and she's relatively well known in Calgary in particular. And
she's the recall filer for Calgary Bow as well. She had... I guess I have to go back to the fact that when we first started ABR, our mandate was to inform people with sourced information, exactly what was happening day to day in their government. When we also encouraged people, if they did not get answers, or if they were trying to contact their MLAs, and we got a lot of feedback on that. You'd be very surprised at some of the responses that came from MLAs. Some are very rude. Some didn't respond at all. Many didn't respond at all.
Was there one in particular that jumped out at you?
Well, I've got two, actually. One, and I won't say the name, because I don't have permission to. But I did get one that was forwarded to me that one of our members had emailed her MLA twice. And one week, one the next week. And she got a message back stating that you obviously will never agree with any of our policies. So to save you time and to save us time, we'll just put you on that list of people who will never agree with any of our policies. That was the response. The other one was actually Jenny. Jenny met with Demetrius and Nicoloides about education. That was her. That's why she went in to see him. It took a while to get in to see him. When she met with him, she said she sat there and he ignored her, what she was saying. He wasn't responding to her, and she made a note of that. You're not taking notes, you're not. And his words to her were, I do not answer to you, I answer to the party. When she got up to leave, he told her to leave and said never to come back. That was the moment that Jenny decided she would be filing a recall at some point in time, and she quit the board in order to start organizing that. So those are two, but there were a number. It was more common to have someone be rude, especially not even talk about the issues that they were concerned with, that they had emailed about. So, and that was, like Danielle Smith says, well, it's been abused. It's there's no reason for this. There's reason for it, and I would like her to explain what she means by abused. It's their legislation.
Yeah, I think that, for folks that are looking at this and kind of wrinkling their nose, that aren't necessarily getting behind this, and that may include folks from across the political spectrum. I think some people feel like maybe this is using ammunition that would be better utilized closer to an election. I think a lot of people feel like recall was designed for egregious breaches of conduct, right? Or for obvious and blatant dereliction of duty. People that aren't showing up to work, people that have committed ethical breaches or betrayed their constituents. And I'm not sure that the average Albertan would agree that there have been 26 instances of that.
And I would argue that. I would say that even though it's not something specific that was mentioned, and again, this is their legislation. They didn't specify what rules you had to follow in order to file a recall. If there's a failure there, that belongs to this this party, not the people who are filing recalls. I can't say that any of them were. I'll tell you, Ryan, what happened with recalls and why we had this avalanche. As I said, for a year, we had been doing town halls, getting out, talking to people. Our membership is now over 10,000 people. We talked to people about their right to recall and what reasons they would use for recall. Breach of trust was a huge one. And every single UCP MLA has breached the trust of their constituents. The campaign promises that were made. Do you remember them? There were, yeah.
Well, why don't you focus in on a few where you I mean, there's a lot of campaign promises, but...
Well, there were ones that were...
When you say breach of trust, I mean, that's a big deal. It's a
breach
big allegation.
Of trust. There were campaign promises made regarding the health care, that Albertans would never pay for health care. That's a big issue. There was, no one is ever going to touch your CCP. Nobody. Okay. The CPP. She refused to run on the Sovereignty Act, and those are her words, she's not running on a Sovereignty Act or on a police force, a new police force. All of those things are big issues. Not one of the MLAs came to their constituents and said, okay, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. What do you think? There was no input. There was no feedback pursued. There was nothing. That's breach of trust. I'm going to just right out say it. They lied to their constituents. They lied because they are doing, on those issues that I mentioned, complete reversal. And there's been no consultation with citizens. If that's not breach of trust, I don't know what is.
What is it that woke the beast within you? What was it that got you all fired up? I mean, respectfully to politicians lie all the time. Election promises are broken or forgotten all the time. You
Agreed.
Describe yourself as a lifelong conservative, one that does not hold any current political memberships, but something obviously was awoken within you to start this movement that now counts 10,000 members. What's different about this government?
Prior to the election, as I said, yeah, they lie all the time. They stretch the truth. But this is outright reversal of campaign promises. I think that's a little different. Smith spoke about not running on a Sovereignty Act. Bill 1, Sovereignty Act. And it's gone from there. I mean, I'll tell you what drives me is that I want my children, my grandchildren, to grow up in the Alberta that I did, with public health care, with a fully funded public education system. I want that. And now, actually, okay, in the last, since I started ABR, I am now a great-grandmother. So I have another generation to fight for.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's what drives me. And I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention every day. This is what I've been doing for 2 years, solid, daily. And not just me. I want to make that very clear also. We have a fantastic board. We have people that have come and gone, but we have some people that have been there almost from the onset. I'll tell you, when I started ABR, this is how naive I was, and people out there are going to roll their eyes, and that's fine. I started by taking registrations in my DMs on what was then Twitter. This is a grassroots movement. Had people not stepped up for me at that point, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I had to do something. Had people not stepped up for me, I had a gentleman step up and say, I can do a webpage for you for registrations. I can do that. I had another gentleman from Protect Our Province who stepped in and said, if you need advice, let me know. I said, come on down. Yeah, so I had, and our board, I really want to be clear about our board. We have people that spend 8, 10, 12 hours every day. We have a small board, but we have people like Tammy, who is a retired teacher, does our research, heads up our research. And she is, she retired a year early in order to help us. We have a great marketing department. We have a great, our research is beyond. If anybody wants to know anything, we have it. One of my favorites is a sourced, linked list of $80 billion that this government has wasted. Not an M, a B, billion. And it is all sourced and linked. All of our information is sourced and linked and available.
We're talking to Marg Tokar, founder of AB Resistance, in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. I want to jump into our live chat, powered by Park Power, give you a chance to respond to what some people are saying. As is the case with Real Talkers, they're coming at this from different angles, which is part of the beauty of this audience. Erica says, by the way, your lack of engagement earlier in life or your lack of partisan membership and involvement, Erica says that's nothing to be embarrassed about. She says, I would suggest the overwhelming majority of people pay little to no attention to the nitty-gritty details. Erica, I totally agree with you. Cliff says these recall petitions are a waste of resources and a waste of time. Not one riding will have enough support to trigger a recall. You mentioned Jenny Yermy's initiative in Calgary-Bow. Of course, that is Alberta's Education Minister, Dimitrios Nikolaitis. He just about 24 hours ago went on the record as the campaign to recall him enters its final days. He says, quote, the fact that the petition is on track to fail is clear proof that it is meritless. I never like to stick a fork in something before it's done, but it's not looking, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not looking like any of these recall petitions are going to hit the threshold that they need to trigger a vote.
Okay, I'm going to be very honest with you. The only reason I would know that Jenny's petition may not hit that mark is because she has publicly said so.
About 2 weeks ago, she said they're about 10,000 signatures short.
We do not have, I don't know how all these people or any of these people would have numbers on any of the recalls because we don't have them. We do not ask them where they're at, what they're doing as far as numbers go. That's their business, not ours.
So for people that may not be aware, correct me if I'm wrong, petition organizers need to collect a number equivalent to 60% of the total votes that were cast in that riding in the most recent election, correct?
Correct.
So if a riding had 20,000 votes in the most recent election, they need to collect about 12,000.
Oh, I wish.
Ish, right? But
Yeah.
that's where the threshold is at. Mm-hmm. So it's not impossible, but it's a tall order.
It's tough, and what these filers have faced has been tough, aside from the numbers.
What do you mean?
We have, weather for one. They've gone through the minus 25, the minus 30, not for a day or 2 days, but weeks. The other thing is trying to find venues that will rent to you. Libraries have told them, some of them, this is feedback that I've gotten, is that they are afraid that funding will be cut if they allow recalls to use them as signing venues. There are a few businesses who have stood up and said, doesn't matter, you can set up here, it's fine. But those businesses have faced threats. And I'm not talking about online threats. I'm talking about phone calls, threatening them. And, lousy reviews, of course, that's something that a lot of people do when they don't like something like this. But Yeah, so there's been very few businesses. We have had.
We've seen widely reported that story of that McBride's Bakery owner. You've seen this in Medicine Hat. I'll reference CTV's reporting on this. This is Brendan Hilson, the owner of McBride's Bakery in Medicine Hat, and he's had a petition to recall the premier. That's her riding, of course, Brooks Medicine Hat. And it's made news. I mean, some of the opposition that he's faced, the premier's senior staffer, Bruce McAllister, retweeting a call to boycott the bakery. I know a lot of people question whether or not that was an appropriate move on behalf of Mr. McAllister.
Do you think it was?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's small ball, if you want my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's when you're saying things like ethical breaches or breach of trust, I don't think it qualifies as that. But I think when you are, off the top of my head, is the executive director of the office. I believe
Correct.
That's his title, executive director of the premier's office. That's an esteemed office that implies a high calling and a high standard and a high bar. And I think I would say my personal opinion is that his flag is flying, his cards are on the table. It's obvious who he supports and why. And as executive director of the office, you would suggest that he would not just go to the wall, but run through walls for the premier. So I understand that. And I would acknowledge that politics are done differently these days, which I don't endorse and I don't celebrate. But there's a lot of fighting in the gutters. There's a lot of mucking it up. There's a lot of trading punches. Look at the president of the United States. And so I can understand why some people might think that it's acceptable. But I would also suggest that punching down from the premier's office to a bakery in Medicine Hat and calling for a boycott is small ball. And
not a good look.
It's not a good look. If I was outraged about it, I probably would have made more noise about it. But I did look at it and go, ugh. So that's my personal opinion on it. But you were saying that there's businesses that have endured worse than the heat that this baker's been facing.
Threats of businesses being burned down. There's been, they've and there hasn't been many businesses because of that.
I don't blame them.
You don't blame
the businesses? Oh, not the arsonists. Are you kidding me, Marg? I think that as a business, I mean, people can do whatever they want. That's the beauty of business. And don't we live in the most free province in the country? Doesn't freedom reign here? Shouldn't people be free to say and feel and do whatever they like without fear of having their businesses burned down? But I can recognize why a business would want to stay out of the fray on this one.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah,
I see that, but I also see that for those who have the backbone to step up and to do what they believe in, I don't think that they should have to face somebody threatening to burn down their business.
What about you? Have you faced blowback? Your name is all over this. You're accessible on Twitter.
Oh, I'm all over
on X. You're all over
everything,
all the social media channels.
Because I'm out there trying to get people involved.
Have you had your safety threatened? Have you received messages that have concerned you?
Well, yes, but not anybody that's come to my door. Let them.
Well, don't say that.
No, but I mean, all I mean by that is that I'm not afraid of somebody that gets on social media and calls me this or that or says they'll do this or that. There's too much of that. It's what I do, and I must say that I don't respond. I ignore that type of thing all over social media. If I have part of my mandate and my reason for being on social media is to engage people, because there are people out there that don't agree with me but will engage on a civil level, and I think that's fantastic, and I will do so. Definitely. Anybody that wants to discuss issues, topics, I'm ready.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
We try to do that here every day.
That's exactly what I do, Ryan. And I must say that I have had some people come over, more not. But I do enjoy that part of it, being able to speak with people and get their ideas and have them listen to why I do what I do, why ABR does what they do.
We're talking to Marg Tokar. If you're just joining us in our live stream presented by California Closet, she's the founder of AB Resistance, and this is a group that is aiding petition organizers across the province. When you say aiding organizers, are you aiding the organizers that are trying to knock out the 2 NDP MLAs?
If they would come to me, we would and ask. What we do for the other ones is we support them as far as we walk them through the process.
You tell them what they got to do?
Yeah.
You help them with funding?
And there are, no, we do not help any.
Are you collecting funds?
No.
Oh.
As a grassroots movement and our mandate with ABR, we are a political TPA. So we have rules that we have to stay within. And we are very...
TPA, your third-party advertiser.
Right. And we are very careful about that. We do not fund any recall. And what we do basically with recalls is we have gotten people to that point where they understand what recalls are. That they know it's their right, their legal democratic right to do so, to file a recall. We answer their questions. We walk them through the process. Even now, we get questions, in the late stages. Can we do this? What can we do about that? We answer questions. We put people in touch with other people that can help them.
You're a connector. You're a hub.
There we go.
Has anybody asked if they can do something and you've had to say, oh my gosh, no?
Yes.
What's been the wildest question that you've fielded?
No.
This audience needs to hear it.
No.
No. Okay, hang tight. I want to. You never know. You never find out if you don't ask. I got more questions for you. So does our Real Talk live chat powered by Park Power. We're talking to Marg Tokar, founder of AB Resistance, in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Back to Marg in just a second. And Real Talkers, your comments as you watch us live. If you're watching or listening to this later, send us an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. Our friends at North Road Investment Council are down in Mexico right now, by the way. And they're hosting Mexico workshops for snowbirds, for Canadians that are down there on vacation, experiencing winter in Mexico, but of course wanting to glean some valuable insights, maybe interactive learning experiences and opportunities to connect with industry leaders and peers in a beautiful setting. North Road Investment Council is working with discerning families and organizations all the time on investment planning, retirement planning, tax planning, and the like. Well, their dynamic sessions kick off January 26th, running through the 30th, each of them with unique perspectives and practical takeaways to help you elevate your expertise. You can check out northroadic.com for more on these events. They'll, on January 26th, be at the Marriott Puerto Vallarta Resort and Spa on the 26th in the afternoon. They'll be in Punta Mita. On the 28th, they'll be in Mazatlan. And on the 30th of January, you can find them at Playa del Carmen. If you happen to be down in Mexico and would like to connect with our friends at North Road Investment Council, you can do so on their website. Again, that's northroadic.com. Friesen Brothers, big things planned through the year, and a big one of those is the future of Alberta food. Friesen Brothers is proud to present the Future of Alberta Food, which is an artisan cuisine challenge in conjunction with Nate in Alberta's capital city, featuring 6 teams of Alberta food professionals. This event is designed to challenge butchering, baking, cooking, and hospitality expertise, plus creativity. Focusing on really great food, these 6 teams will create 24 original dishes made from scratch. You can join for the culmination of this challenge. It's a sit-down reception on February 21st, starting at 6 p.m. at Ernest Dining Room. A limited number of tickets are available. If you want to try these delicious dishes, you can learn more at friesen.com/challenge. That's the future of Alberta food, presented by our friends at Friesen Brothers. If you're looking to get your clothes off the floor, if you're looking to get organized, if you want to get your garage in a state where you can find your extension cords or have a place to store your summer tires, you've been looking for your drill for 3, 4, 5 months now, you need California Closets of Canada. This is a Canadian-owned and operated custom closet and storage solution mecca, the best in the business, and the consultations with California Closets designers are always free. So whether it's a guest room or maybe a walk-in closet, a laundry room, an entertainment center, you dream it up, they design it, and they can work with any budget as well. That consultation, you can schedule it today by visiting their website. That's californiaclosets.ca. And a shout out to our friends at the Citadel Theatre who are proudly presenting Death of a Salesman. It kicks off shortly as part of their 2026 season. You can get more details at citadeltheatre.com. Of course, this iconic production, Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman, a poignant story of traveling salesmen grappling with unfulfilled dreams and strained family bonds. A timeless drama exploring ambition, identity, and the pursuit of success, revealing the fragility of the human spirit and the yearning for validation. It's a timeless classic that has shaped generations, and you can check it out between the 24th of January and the 15th of February at the Citadel Theatre, one of Canada's largest and most marvelous theaters. Tickets at citadeltheatre.com. If you support Real Talk on Patreon or with a YouTube channel membership, we've already sent you details on how to qualify to win a pair of tickets to see Death of a Salesman at the Citadel Theatre. Make sure you enter by Wednesday at noon Mountain Time. Again, tickets available at citadeltheatre.com. We're hanging out with Marg Tokar, founder of AB Resistance. She is, I keep wanting to call you the driving force behind these recall petitions, but you're really pushing back on that. You're not the driving force behind them. You're one providing supports to those exercising their democratic right, aren't you?
We are.
I want to make sure I introduce you accurately. Here on our live chat, powered by Park Power, we've got a whole bunch of different takes on this. Tracy says the Alberta Resistance or AB Resistance has been successful with their information campaign, regardless of whatever happens outside of that. Randy says, what about NDP dollars supporting these recalls, supporting the ATA? Give me a break. You're on the record. Have you received funding?
Here we go.
Let's dig
there
in.
is no funding
You just
from
sat up
NDP,
straight when I read that.
And there is no funding from unions. None, zero.
Wise Kyle says that you are lying to me. He says you are getting mass donations that are spurred on from union dues. You must hear that a lot.
No. Okay, here, as far as AB Resistance goes itself, we have never accepted a donation. Our finances go to EA. They're open. We have never accepted.
Elections Alberta, you're talking about.
Yes. We have never accepted a donation from a union, a business, or the NDP, or any other political party, ever. We are fully funded by our membership. Period. And I will also say that when we first started ABR for, say, the first 6 months, 8 months, people on our board funded us. We paid personally for town halls, for printing, for travel, for hotels. None of it came from anywhere else. And like I said, go to EA. As far as the recalls, they are not funded by the NDP. I'm not going to say that a union member from, say, the teachers or healthcare has not given them an individual donation. I'm not going to say that because that's probably happened. But as a union or as a political party, there are no donations. And I mean, take a look at the struggles that they have.
I would say one of the things that struck me is you actually reached out to our show because I had put out a call, didn't I? We were talking about these recall petitions, and I made a comment, an off-the-cuff comment, something along the lines of, what did I say? I said, I think there's probably some sort of an organizing body, and there's got to be some sort of a group, and if they want to get in touch with us, they're more than welcome to do it.
It was something along that
And you were in touch in about 40 minutes. And you sent me an email, and what jumped out at me is the very first thing that you wrote to talk at ryanjesperson.com, which is where we invite all kinds of political feedback, organization, background information, clarifying details. Thanks to Mark, by the way, in our live chat, who pointed out that Jenny Ermey is a geophysicist.
Correct.
But the number one thing, the very first thing you said to us in this paper I'm holding in my hand right now, you said, I am a lifelong conservative. That was the very first thing you put on the page.
I think that's important.
Do you think that you've been misportrayed in the province?
Oh, certainly, because I've been... What do we hear the most is radical leftist. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I wish somebody would define that. I don't know what that means.
These days, it just means that you care about other people.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with that then.
Yeah.
But
I'm a communist, Marg, so someone's going to pull that 2 seconds out of the show and make it their
Dale
ringtone.
Nally, that was the first thing that came out of his mouth when he was filed on was, and not only that, but that his recall filer, the person that filed on him, was being backed and fully funded by this radical leftist organization. Dale Nally, I might also add, who went into voter records, which he shouldn't have had access to, and wrote a letter to EA saying that anyone who didn't vote in the last election, like this person, should not have the right to file a recall. You know, the audacity, knowing that he shouldn't have access to those records, but to put that information into a letter to Elections Alberta, it's mind-boggling. And I can't speak as to what has happened with that since then, simply because I was contacted by a lawyer and who asked to have me put him in touch with the filer. So where that went after that, I am not privy to.
Ms. KD in our live chat, powered by Park Power, says she's kind of pushing back, I think, on a question that I asked you, or on the framing of a question. She says, how is this not organizing for the next election? People may characterize this as some sort of a data mining exercise or a way of organizing opposition to incumbent MLAs or what have you. People had the same sort of questions. You bristled as soon as I asked you that for the benefit of people listening on the podcast.
We're not that sophisticated, unfortunately.
But we asked the same thing to Thomas Lukazik, right? Like,
yeah.
What are you doing with the signatures? What are you doing with the names? What are you doing with the email addresses?
Okay. We do not have the names, the email addresses of all of these people that have volunteered for recalls. We don't have that information. That information has not come to us, nor have we asked for it.
So what is it? The pen goes to paper, folks sign a petition, the petition is submitted to Elections Alberta, and then ultimately destroyed.
And destroyed. I would also like to, since you bring that up, I would also like to mention that as a result of Dale Nally's actions, we've had feedback from filers that they have had to talk to people about the fact that their personal information would not be accessed by this government. There has been concern about that before they want to sign anything. So that's another hurdle people have had to jump because of this government.
Interesting comment here from Mark, who says, Mark Doran, by the way, from Pluto Pay Federation.
I love Mark.
Are you familiar with Mark?
You bet.
Well, he's been singing your praises in the live chat.
Yeah.
And he says AB Resistance is a member of the Coalition for Responsible Energy, or CARE.
We are.
Says we stand for Alberta energy regulator reform and have many member organizations. Is your reach here, or your involvement, or ultimately your political influence growing? I mean, are you starting to realize personally, as somebody who's not been an organizer before, like typically when we talk to people that are doing the sort of thing that you're doing, their history is they've been president of constituency associations, or they've knocked doors for candidates through 6 elections, or you get the sense. This is not your
understood.
story.
No.
Are you having almost an epiphany where you recognize all of a sudden you've got a group of 10,000 members and people want you to contribute your efforts to other areas?
Other areas. I'm learning. I'm learning as I go. And so is our board. I'll tell you, one of my biggest frustrations throughout this has been that it is difficult to have all of these groups come together as one. Were we able to do that, there would be no stopping us. But and I understand we have healthcare, we have coal mining, we have education. There are untold number of different groups in Alberta, and they are fighting. Each one of them is fighting a very worthy battle. What I like to tell people, or to try to relate to people, is that were we to work together, it would be winning a war, not fighting all of these individual battles. And those battles would be taken care of if we won the war. So, that has long been a frustration of mine, why we can't come together. And actually, Mark spoke at one of our speakers events, so that's where I met Mark.
He's a passionate guy and a regularly contributing member of our audience. We sure appreciate it. M. Aitken in our live chat says, I'm a 70-year-old retired nurse holding a sign in front of my MLA's office protesting coal mines, and she labeled the handful of friends standing with me as terrorists in the legislature. M. Aitken, I didn't hear that one. Erica says, I get that they're following the legislation with what they're doing here, but breach of trust has a specific legal definition when it comes to accountability for public servants that have broken campaign promises. Servants breaking campaign promises are not technically breach of trust. Mrs. McNally in our chat says, do you know who that is?
I don't.
Says,
How to find out?
Well, you just went, ooh. So I thought, oh. The fact that a recall petition is failing is largely because folks literally have zero idea what recalls are and how they work. A major piece missing is public education of the process. I would say to Mrs. McNally, I'm sure that Mrs. McNally would agree that any government in its right mind is not going to participate in public education around how you can assist in them losing their jobs. That would fall onto a group like you.
And I might add that has been part of our mandate for the last year. But I do have to admit that when we get out there are a lot of people that we aren't reaching. There are a lot of people who don't know what's happening day to day in Alberta. Things that really affect them, but they just aren't aware. And that's our job.
Super Chat Ken fact-checking me with a correction. I appreciate that. He says, to be clear, McBride's Bakery is not in Danielle Smith's riding, by the way. He was simply providing support for the canvassers, collecting signatures for those that did live in her riding. Thanks for the correction. Meta Modern says, by the way, I don't think there's any universe where the Premier's office needs to be stepping on a small business. Yeah, I 100% agree. Would there ever be a recommendation from AB Resistance or from you to not pursue a recall, even if there's strong anger in a community? Like if an MLA didn't necessarily, by your assessment, qualify as recall worthy?
That's not our place. Were it up to me, and I'm speaking for myself personally.
Yeah.
Not ABR. I'm not representing ABR personally. It may have been better in the long run for, instead of having an avalanche of recalls, it really was unexpected. If we were able to draw those out into the spring, I think success may have been easier. But that wasn't up to us. I'll tell you, what happened was Jenny, and Jenny has got a fantastic crew. She's a wonderful leader. But when she filed people started thinking, this is doable. There is something that we can do. We can make our voices heard because they haven't been heard. And then came the teachers' strike.
Yeah.
Then the straw that, or the dam broke when the notwithstanding clause was implemented. We had no control over that. That wasn't up to us. And it wasn't up to unions, and it wasn't up to any political party. It was up to individual Albertans who said, enough. Our voices need to be heard. And that's how we ended up with 23.
I'm of two minds on the number of recall petitions. On one hand, it demonstrates that there is, in almost 24 ridings, enough anger, enough frustration that people are mobilizing to initiate recall petitions, which is them using their own free time to go around and try to collect signatures in an effort that is not guaranteed to be successful. And it's remarkable. And it shows political involvement, political engagement. That's never a bad thing. Utilizing a tool that was put in place by a conservative government in Alberta and continues to be supported by conservative governments in Alberta, though they're raising the bar, at least in this context, to make it a little bit more difficult, easier with other citizen initiatives like the separation petition that we're seeing right now. On the other hand...
It's funny how that fell in that one little...
Isn't it? We've never seen as many petitions as this, and perhaps someone will fact-check me on that, but at least in my adult life, I cannot remember where there was a petition on coal. There's been the petition, the Forever Canadian petition. There's the separation petition. There's 24 of these. But I do also, and I don't want to say I worry because I'm not emotionally invested or otherwise invested in this, but I would be concerned if I was a supporter of this or if I was one of these petition organizers that the number of them, the 24 of them, can send a message that they're somewhat frivolous, right? There weren't 24 drunk driving MLAs, or there weren't 24 MLAs accused of fraud or embezzlement, or there weren't 24 MLAs that haven't showed up for a single vote in the legislature. You know what I'm saying? Like I think a lot of people, you're looking at me like I'm from another planet, but I think there's a lot of people that feel like just the sheer number of these indicate that the process is being abused, that it's not a remarkable or standalone situation to see a recall petition initiated anymore. Anybody can be targeted by these for any reason.
They can, but for good reason. As I said, to me, it's a job evaluation, and they failed.
They failed if they're recalled.
No. That's not necessarily correct. The fact that they failed in bringing issues to their constituents, in consulting, in getting feedback, they have failed in that. And that has nothing to do with whether or not a recall is successful. They've still failed. They've failed enough to the point where, I'm going to tell you, Ryan, these people that file and organize, they are giving up 3 months of their time.
Oh, for sure.
Day in, day out. People are sitting out in the cold, minus 25 at a table where someone has tried to drive into the table. No, it's not. You know what? Every one of these recalls, were they not to hit their marks, there is not one that will be a failure, because every one of them have gotten out there, have talked to people, are making people aware. And, that's what we've been trying to do for 2 years. No. And once the recalls are done, we will continue to do what we're doing, which is inform people on a daily basis, try and get people involved. And these recalls have and will mobilize more people for the upcoming election.
We're watching the comments come in across social media platforms, including here on Facebook, where people are watching our live stream presented by California Closets. Kevin says, this is his opinion, I'll be clear. He says, not a chance that data wasn't mined in the Forever Canadian process, hasn't been stored for an upcoming election. He says, I'll bet my house that Thomas runs in the next election. I'll be clear to Kevin to say that if that is the case, it would break the law. And Thomas has been very clear on that. You can listen to my most recent interview with Thomas after they submitted those nearly 440,000 signatures. Michael says recall is a stunt. That's it. When people say they're lifelong conservatives, what they're saying is that they support conservative values, which are not people and communities. They're fiscal conservatives, not social. The two can't be separated. When you say you're a lifelong conservative, what do you mean by that? Michael wants to know.
I grew up conservative. I grew up in a conservative family. As a matter of fact, I grew up with oil and gas. So it was always, if you want to say fiscally conservative, that doesn't match up anymore either. I mean, it doesn't. You can say that.
Oh, I agree with you.
But it doesn't follow what conservative parties have done in the past. It's not this is an outlier. I'm sorry, but it's not the same. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is not a conservative party. Now maybe someone else will step up and take that niche. I don't know. I hope somebody does. And that's not to say that I would, as I said, I will never again vote party. I will vote policy, and I will ask a lot of questions.
In our live chat, East Coast Stoner says, it is great to see a citizen standing up for what she believes in. Hats off. Tracy D says, I understand why these may be categorized as failed, but the outcome is that it's brought so much attention to the issues that it has certainly been successful in that way. Boomshanker X, thanks for your YouTube channel membership, says it doesn't really feel like we're even trying to reconcile left and right anymore, which I agree with. I thought our transit roundtable in our Friday episode, just a couple episodes back, was really good, talking about how public transit's not a left or right issue, talking about Stephen Harper's funding for public transit. I thought that was interesting, Boomshanker X. If you didn't check it out, make sure you do so. And look at this, $28 into our super chat from Simi. Thank you, Simi. Says, just go out and vote, with a whole bunch of exclamation marks. Let me ask you about this in closing. So looking ahead to the next provincial election, it could be this year. It's not guaranteed to be this year, but it could be.
From your mouth.
Right? It's a pretty safe statement to say something could happen. But yes. What would success look like for AB resistance if not a single recall actually succeeds? But looking ahead to the next election, your definition of success
is to mobilize people, to have people informed enough that they want to get out there, campaign, do door-to-door for whatever party they're involved with. But to know the facts going in. Know your facts. And there's not a right and a left when it comes to facts. They are what they are. So know your facts, and I will, as I said, I don't know where recalls are right now. Maybe we'll have some success. I don't know. Maybe there won't be. But again, the whole process is worth making people aware, and mobilizing people out there. The whole process is worth that, whether or not they, whether they fail or they don't.
I will let you know we haven't blown a lot of sunshine your way, but there's been a lot of support for you in our live chat for what it's worth. A lot of people, including those who disagree with your position, or at least who disagree, let me say, with the strategy that is being invoked here, are commending you on your citizen involvement, your strength of character. One person said, the fact that you're involved politically in this It's
thank them.
Well, I can tell just by the look on your face that resonates with you. This is this is
certainly
relatively
it does.
new for you, which is.
Oh, it's very new for me.
I think that's one of the more, to be honest with you, I mean, there's the big picture of the recalls. I'll go behind the curtain here for a second and how my brain works. The story here sure is the recalls and the astounding number of them, and whether or not they'll succeed in the political response to them and yada, yada, yada. But at the center of this story and the feature in the spotlight in this interview is a citizen who up until this point in her life has had very limited political involvement and has done exactly zero political organizing, that is now organizing a group that a lot of people in the province know about and a lot of folks are looking to for guidance and assistance and encouragement. And regardless of how you vote or where your politics are, I think that's something that deserves to be commended. So I commend you on taking action here and getting involved. If more people, Mark, pardon my French, gave a shit,
got off their asses.
I don't see how that would be a bad thing.
No, and I do want to be very clear about something. Without the people who are sitting right here and right here, there would be no ABR. It's not me. It's the people that work day in and day out. And honestly, there are people on our small board that spend 10 to 12 hours every single day. So, because they care about what we're doing and they care about our province. That's what it comes down to.
Maxine's watching us on Facebook, says recalls are about stopping the destruction of our province and its support systems. What other means are there to stop the bleeding? Michael says, I do like getting people involved in politics, engaging in citizens' duty. Awareness is great. So that's a good thing. The comments are coming in. Keep those comments coming, friends. You can learn more about what Marg and her group are doing at abresistance.ca. We've been hanging out with Marg Tokar, founder of AB Resistance, in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for making the trip in from Sherwood Park.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and it's good to hear the feedback as well. Great. Thank you.
Send us your thoughts to talk@ryanjesperson.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment there. And, of course, you can always send us an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. These conversations happen with the support of Real Talk partners like our friends at Solar by Kuby. Of course, not a lot of you are thinking about solar, I would imagine, through these winter months. But there's this common misconception that solar doesn't produce much power in the winter. But the truth might actually surprise you. Even with shorter days, your solar system is still generating energy. And cold temperatures can actually help your panels perform more efficiently. Plus, in Western Canada, net billing in Alberta, self-generation in BC means that homeowners can bank excess power generated during the sunny summer months and then use those credits to offset energy use in the winter. So your system is working year-round to reduce your electricity costs. Plus, you can still enjoy energy savings no matter the season. If you'd like to learn more about how solar performs in Canada's colder months, check out Kuby's blog post, Solar Panels in Winter, to learn more. You can go to their website, kuby.ca. That's kuby.ca. You can get a free solar quote today. Get the ball rolling. Get their engineers to work designing your system. They'll be up on your roof as soon as the snow melts come spring, and you can start your saving today. We're so proud to be supporting UCAN Youth Services with their comedy nights. Those are coming up in March. This is a nonprofit charitable organization that for years has been helping young people out of harm's way and onto a path of economic independence. They're helping young people find a road out of where they're at right now. It could be a friend group, a peer group that's less than ideal. Perhaps they haven't had parental supports. Some of them are experiencing housing and food insecurity, criminal records. They don't have a resume, or at least they don't have one put together at the moment. Well, UCAN steps in, and with these ready-to-work programs, you can read about those at ucan.ca, gets these young people ready to enter the workforce. The confidence they glean out of this is amazing. You can check out their Instagram at UCAN Youth Services for testimonials if you want to know where this money is going. And we encourage you to visit ucan.ca. On the main page, you'll find the banner for UCAN Comedy Nights. I encourage you to sponsor a table. Bring your friends. That's what we'll be doing. And, of course, help raise funds for a great cause. That's UCAN Comedy Nights, March 9th through 11th and March 16th through 18th. All the details at ucan.ca. And we are 2 days away, 2 episodes away from our next edition of Alberta Wins, presented by Play Alberta. These are stories of Albertans, individuals, or groups winning on the national or international stage. It's our celebration of the province that we are proud to call home, presented by Play Alberta. You can submit your Alberta Win today to talk@ryanjesperson.com. Everybody who enters an Alberta Wins between now and the beginning of March will qualify to win 2 seats in the Play Alberta suite as the Edmonton Oilers host the Tampa Bay Lightning on the 21st of March. It's Real Talk night, and we've got Real Talk supporters joining us there. Qualify today by sending us your Alberta Win to talk@ryanjesperson.com. You know, Albertans are winning every single day on the Play Alberta app or at playalberta.ca. Literally hundreds of popular casino games to choose from, some of them with jackpots worth millions. A major casino winner every hour, and all the revenue stays right here in Alberta. If you like what you're hearing, download the app today to get started with casino, sports, and lottery all in one app. You got to be 18 or over to play. And when you gamble, make sure you use your game sense. Our thanks to Marg Tokar for joining us in studio. And I know that a lot of you, like Cherie, is just joining now. Says, I got here late. I'm going to have to rewind to catch Marg. We appreciate those of you that will be sharing those interviews. Those of you that tell your friends. We're seeing an uptick over the past few months. It's been significant in our podcast subscriptions, our YouTube channel subscriptions as well. And we sure appreciate that support. Plus, liking and reviewing our content. I know it makes me sound like, review, share. Smash the like button.
It
really does help us.
Would rather you share than anything else. Just get more eyes on us. Get your friends looking. Get them loving us. Get them hating us. Whatever they're doing, just get them watching us.
We'll appreciate the love more than the hate, but the hate holds us accountable.
The hate keeps us honest, Ryan.
John Hicks, the technical director of this show, flying the plane while Marg and I are talking, and you noticed her, right?
We lost an engine at the start.
Yeah, well, you fixed it.
Luckily, there's 2.
Yeah. Podcast listeners will have no idea what we're talking about because it will be flawless
clean
audio
after,
right out of the gates. They
but
have no idea
our
what we
loyal
mean.
listeners were like, Aaron, I loved Aaron's comment. She was like, I'm always so impressed when people tap dance when there's technical issues because you're just a pro.
Well,
you just went over, you read some comments, it was fine.
We've been doing it for years. Many of you are letting us know in the chat of who you're going to share it with or how these interviews resonate with you, and I appreciate that. I'm always curious to pick your brain as someone you've been watching the body language through the interview, and she really, near the end, when I asked her, I said I'm kind of 2 minds on this. On one hand, it's remarkable that there's 26 recall petitions out there. I mean, it's notable. Let me say it's notable. But I also wonder, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but I actually doubt it. I suspect that a lot of people feel like the sheer number of them imply that there's really nothing special about being targeted with a recall petition. In other words, they're just doing it to everybody.
Sure.
They're just trying to get rid of every single MLA. There's 26 of them, for God's sake. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Where do you land on that?
I would argue it's the opposite. I think it shows there is a problem, and people are definitely upset. I'm not sure how many, if any, and I don't mean to take the wind out of the sails of Marg, will actually, like we talked about yesterday, get, 60% or more?
The bar's really high.
It's very high, right? And some people are complaining about that as well. But, I mean, then what's the other side of that? Like how many people should it take? 3? 1? 40? Like, obviously there has to be a precedent set of how many people. But I think 60% is a lot. But I think it just shows people are upset. I mean, I said yesterday, I think, is it a bad thing that it's a form of protest in a way that some people think, hey, the recall won't go through, but at least, I think at the root of all of this, it's to show the person in that seat that people are upset. And rather than those people come out and say, this is a conspiracy, this is a bunch of people who get together and try to cause a ruckus, I would think that they would just look inward and maybe be like, why are these people upset? And take note of it. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do, right? That's the whole point of this thing.
Yeah. Lauren's watching us on YouTube. He says, I'm with Johnny. So there you go.
Lauren's always with me.
You got Lauren
though.
with you. We've also had an interesting number, and I can't cite all of them, of those of you that are writing in to let us know about correspondence that you've had, and you're not limiting this just to provincial politics. Your city councilors, some of you have been talking about your MLAs at the provincial level. Some of you are talking about your MPs, like Whitrium, who says, for example, I just sent a third email to Eleanor Olszewski, who's the MP out of Edmonton Centre and off the top of my head, Minister for Emergency Preparedness or something like that. Whatever, it's a big, long title. Says, I hold no hope, says Whitrium, that she will respond this time either. A third email, Whitrium says to Eleanor Olszewski. Some of you will say, well, it's not really fair to put Eleanor in the spotlight here. Look at all these. I mean, I would acknowledge that, MLAs, city councilors, MPs probably receive I don't know how many emails they would receive. I know how many emails we receive, and it is tough to stay on top of them. Thankfully, we have Katie behind the scenes who does a really good job with my dumpster fire of an inbox. But it is difficult, and you don't want an auto reply, right? Like if you're Whitrium or anybody else and you're writing in on issue X, whatever your issue is, you don't necessarily want the auto reply that says, thank you for contacting your MLA. We appreciate or whatever, and then it's signed off. It's a canned response.
Sure.
You know that they're not looking at it. You want a personal response. It's also very difficult to personally respond to everybody that sends in an email. I know it's difficult for us. We do our best, but it's not possible. And with politicians, I don't know, on a different vein, I would say you have signed up for that. You have signed up to make yourself accessible. Mm-hmm. You've signed up to be a representative of the people. Marg recounts. And
you wanted the smoke.
You wanted the smoke. Marg talks about this, and I just have to say alleged conversation because I wasn't there. I haven't heard the video, guys. I'm just being fair.
Yeah.
Allegedly, Minister Nicolaitis saying to Jenny Yeremy, I don't answer to you, I answer to the party.
I don't know.
I find it hard to believe that somebody would say that out loud in a meeting. Yeah. Perhaps that was, and I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm just saying I find that hard to believe that he would say that.
Thank you to the minister for always giving us his time.
Yeah, he's come on the show lots.
But that's the exact opposite of what I just said is what I feel these are about. Because some of these people the people who rise up and initiate these recalls, they know they're not going to go through, but they're hoping to death you just listen to them, right?
Yeah.
And to totally disregard them like that is the exact opposite of this whole thing.
Yep. Boom Shanker X follows up, by the way, with a comment that I'm inclined to, I don't know if I want to say I agree with it, but let me at least say I understand where you're coming from. Says, don't forget that if none of these recalls end up making it across the finish line, this government is going to interpret it as a further mandate. And it's kind of true, right? I mean, I'm not within government. I don't sit around the cabinet table, but I have to imagine that if people come for you in your job and try to get you canned and they don't get anywhere close to it, or you emerge unscathed, where's your head at the end of the day? Maybe you look at it as a close call if the petition got close, but if it didn't, right? Fringe group came at me, failed, carry on business as usual. So interesting point from Boom Shanker X on that one. Aaron says, I am not a fan of recall. Just vote differently. She says, that said, I do agree with Johnny and what he just said in terms of it being a form of protest.
And I that's how I see it in the end is, it's people rising up. They're not causing violence. They're not burning down anything. They're just making things. Yeah, it is a bit annoying. And it's supposed to be. It's supposed to get you to say, hey, maybe I should listen to these people too. I know they're not the ones necessarily who prop me up, who put me in this position.
Yeah.
But they're still, I represent them, right? This whole thing, Alberta's so, I know politics across North America right now are heated and divided, and especially in this country. But Alberta's the hardest, You've got conservative government running the province, but you've got both the urban hubs pretty left-leaning. It's push and shove every day. So, the least you can do is turn the temperature down by just lending your ear to those people that it's clear that you're not fully representing, or, we get it. You're not on their side, but the idea is that you're supposed to be, Scarlett doesn't want to pick a horse. She says, I think I'm with both of you. Scarlett. She says, I think folks on the left think that this really matters, and I think that the folks on the right think that it's just a bunch of whiny left-wingers and will totally ignore it. And I think that that's an astute comment, which is why I think it's interesting that Marg says she's a lifelong conservative. I also, if I know anything, having hosted talk shows for 15 years, it's that nobody
that is right now an ardent partisan conservative is going to believe someone who says I was a lifelong conservative until I flipped.
I know.
Or until I started
when
doing
she
this.
was saying
like you
it,
look
but then
immediately in the comments.
Marg's even holding back because like it's not her duty to tell us her personal life and what her brother or father or uncle or mom or like it's not her duty to tell us, my father was in oil and gas.
Here's my receipts.
Yeah.
Here's my proof of how I voted.
She doesn't have to do that. But I understand how she kind of wants to because it's like nobody believes that anyone conservative could disagree.
You know who it reminds me of?
Like nobody, it could never happen.
Bonnie Critchley, right? When Bonnie Critchley ran against Pierre Poilievre in that Battle River Crowfoot by-election, what was the very first thing that she wanted to communicate? In her exclusive here on Real Talk, in her campaign messaging, lifelong conservative, rancher, Canadian veteran, right? That was an important message for her in communicating to the people in that riding. Ms. Katie says, hey, guys, Jenny has clarified that Nicolaitis did say that to her. She said it publicly on the record in an interview. Okay, well, I mean, if he did say that, that's wild. LJ says, the only time I've ever emailed a politician was at Christmas when a bunch of MLAs left the country during COVID and told Albertans to stay home. I was furious, says LJ. I believe to this day, LJ, that is our second highest downloaded Real Talk episode ever. I believe it was the 4th of January. That would have been 2021. Aloha Gate. That was a wild time for sure. Nia says, my MLA is very good at replying in person, but his uber Christian speeches, and speaking of Charlie Kirk as a good Christian, definitely communicates one type of message to constituents. Mrs. McNally's back, says, I think that the number of conservatives coming out and signing these petitions should be a very real concern for the UCP. Mrs. McNally says, I am a recall organizer, and I'm happy to chat about that side of things. We'll keep the comments coming, and we'll see what else you're throwing in. Ms. Katie says, voting is 4 years away at worst. Recall is a good way to protest policy in the interim and to shine a light on it. Others are saying, I think we all recognize the way that we're doing politics right now is not going to lead us to the promised land. Whitrim follows up with the earlier comment, says, it's really sad how much people in this province feel that they have to preface statements with, I was a lifelong conservative. Like all it does is communicate that in some way they're standing up against their tribe. I think one of the reasons why people say it is, and sorry, I'm about to say something very obvious, but people don't want to be immediately dismissed as a perpetual detractor to the government or as a perpetual opponent to the government. People want to communicate that the party that they have supported in past has left them, that they have not left the party. That's a consistent message that you hear, right? I mean, look at the Alberta Tory party now, right? With Pete Guthrie and Scott Sinclair, and they're trying to revive. Basically what they're trying to do is revive the PCs by way of the Alberta party. We've had them on the show in past if you want to check out those interviews. But I think that a lot of people, and we don't know the exact number, but conservatives provincially and federally, there's a considerable number of them that probably feel, the Republicans in the United States probably feel like the party that they have long supported is not that party anymore. It's not operating the same way. It's not the same MO. The leadership style is not the same. The policies are not the same. The response to international crises is not the same. LJ needs a nap, or JJ needs a nap, rather. Great handle. Says, perhaps broadly changing party names isn't a bad idea. Lifelong conservative? Well, conservative today isn't what it was in 1975, nor is liberalism. Spectrum's out worried about what, budget versus worried about people. That's kind of what JJ needs a nap, how they see it as. Goramut says, conservative has sadly become an Alberta tagline for you can trust me, I'm just like you. From Goramut. Send us an email to talk@ryanjesperson.com. It sounds to me like this could be a good fit or a good prompt for the flamethrower that's presented final episode of every week. It'll be Friday this week by our friends at the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. Talk@ryanjesperson.com. Make sure you put flamethrower in the subject line. We wanted to get to some of the international news that's happening before we sign off, and if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it because the news is happening fast, but some remarkable statements on the record, including, and this will trigger some people that are checking out this episode, but the World Economic Forum, Johnny, gathering in Davos, Switzerland. And it's, of course, got the eyes of the world as political leaders from across the country are going on the record.
Drink.
There was an interview. What's the drink? WEF, World Economic Forum?
I just chugged the whole time you
Well,
were
where's
talking.
my drink?
Just kidding.
The next episode is not presented by Hanson Distillery until
okay,
tomorrow.
sorry.
Today is Rapid X Financials, so it's too bad. Otherwise, it would have had a 5-year aged whiskey on the table here. By the way, random, has anybody noticed watching us on YouTube? Our podcast listeners will not have seen this yet, but this is the debut of the brand new model of the Real Talk Studio mug.
I love this one. Hold
and
on.
I'm really loving these ones.
Look at that sleek.
A bit of a different shape to it.
No,
You can see it's.
I don't want to.
It really sits nicely in the hand. It gives you a bit of a thumb rest here.
I don't want to draw any lines.
Kind of a diner-style mug.
I'll let you do it, but that is quite the flat resting area
Yeah.
on the top of the cup for.
What are you going to say? You can rest your joint on there? Is that what you're saying?
Hey, I didn't say it.
Well, why not just say it? I mean,
You said it.
Why don't we just go ahead and say it's got a built-in joint platform?
Real Talk does not promote or
But you know
sell
what?
drug paraphernalia
But
via
you
their website.
you could also rest your Bible on it while you're doing devotionals.
100%.
Right? It's a resting platform for anything that you need to rest on your coffee mug, your tea mug, or whatever else you put in this mug. And a
Rosary.
shameless plug, if you go to ryanjesperson.com and click on the merch link, you'll find exactly there the Real Talk merch that we do have available right now, including the Real Talk Studio mug. I got to update this photo. This is our now discontinued studio mug that you'll see now. But if you go ahead and place your order, you will receive the new one. I didn't plan on doing a plug today, but now that it's sitting here in front, I really do love these mugs. They turned out great. And by the way, if you do buy these mugs, you are buying Canadian. A shout out to our supplier in Calgary who does these mugs for us. But I wanted to get to a couple of comments on the
Clip
record
show.
because I think that this is time for the clip show. Elias Makos is a talk show host, and he had the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, in for an interview. And I want to play you. This is going to be a bit of an extended link, but it's a remarkable. It's about 3 minutes, but this is wild. If you actually sit and think about it. Now, don't treat this like, for those of you, I know that some of you are like in your commute, you're looking out the window, you're paying attention to some of the Christmas lights that are still on, or you're walking your dog and you're looking for the Frisbee, whatever. Really, really dial in and really listen to what the U.S. ambassador is saying, because this is insanity. As a matter of fact, it's prompted prominent political pundit Andrew Coyne to call for the U.S. ambassador to be expelled from Canada and its comments around Greenland. However, the interviewer, to his credit, Elias Makos, asks the ambassador whether the perspective or the strategy or the position on Greenland could extend to Canada's north. And here's what the U.S. ambassador says. Check this out.
Sovereignty here, particularly in light of what's happened with the discussion over Greenland, right? The line that I've heard from the president and the U.S. administration that if they don't do something with Greenland, that Russia or China will, right? That's the rationale and the reasoning behind that. I wonder if that also applies to Canada's north, because there have been many people that say that Canada isn't doing enough in the north, and I would think there's also been Russia and China having an interest in Canada's north. Do you view it the same way, that if Canada doesn't do something with its north, that it'll end up in Russia and China or Chinese hands, and that the United States may have to act on that front?
Well, you got a couple of things going on. You got number one, the vice president and our secretary of state are meeting with officials from Greenland, perhaps right now. Okay, let's see where that all ends up over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months. The second one is almost purely hypothetical. I mean, the indications from the Canadian government has been that we want to very, very closely coordinate and cooperate with the United States on Canada's north. Matter of fact, Canada, Finland, and the United States have reached agreement on, I think, a very interesting pact on building icebreakers. Okay, some of it is Canadian. Well, I guess it's Canadian manufacturing. You're buying a shipbuilding or investing in a shipbuilding facility on America's south coast. We're using Finland technology, and so the Finns, the Canadians, and the Americans, we're not moving to a point where we're disagreeing on how to protect the North. We're actually working together to make sure that we are in lockstep.
So on defense, you would say we are in an alignment on that front right now.
Well, there's a lot in defense.
Yeah.
Okay, we've done so much together on defense. I think we're continuing to do a lot together on defense. I think that is most likely where we are going to forward. We've created a great defense infrastructure in Canada. We started off with aerospace,
which has been a big part of your visit.
Big part of my visit. Yeah. Okay, but what has helped generate that? Canadian ingenuity, Canadian investment, Canadian workforce, in partnership with American investment, creativity for some of the products on the F-35. We've transferred intellectual property to Canadian companies to help them be an effective partner in building F-35s. So I think we've got a great relationship. Now, obviously, there's a little tension in that there's a little bit of tension in that right now. But I think we'll end up in a good place. I'm hopeful we end up in a good place.
All right. So that's U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra. Andrew Coyne says the U.S. ambassador was asked whether the United States might invade the Canadian North on the same grounds as it is threatening to invade Greenland. He did not say, no, of course not. He said it's a hypothetical. Coyne says this is absolutely the last straw. Send him home at once. Now, of course, that would escalate an issue. It would exacerbate tension. Diplomatically, it would be a wild situation to have a U.S. ambassador expelled from Canada. But is that the right move? More and more nations are pushing back on the United States. We saw this yesterday. Danish troops are arriving in Greenland right now. A NATO member, Denmark, is sending troops to Greenland based exclusively on express threats, basically, that's what they are, from the United States to acquire that territory. They're not recognizing the long-held connection between Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark, and Greenland. The Trump administration has dismissively stated that just because some boat landed there 500 years ago, which is kind of ironic, that it doesn't belong to Denmark and that it should belong to the United States. And besides, and I'm paraphrasing, but pretty bang on, Denmark can't defend the territory anyway.
I know.
So,
and now Canada's weighing plans like, do we support NATO here?
Well,
like,
Mark Carney has stated explicitly that Canada will support its NATO allies, which, if you think about it, could pit Canada versus the United States in a military standoff, which is a total disaster.
They're both allies.
They're supposed to be.
Where's the...
But an aggression against a NATO member must be met with a response from NATO members. And so the United States, NATO members would never support an aggression from a NATO member, the United States, against another NATO member in Denmark, right? This is wild. How about that Greenlandic politician, Tillie Martinussen? And I'll be honest, never heard of her before. No offense intended. Never heard of her before. But everybody's hearing from her now.
I think we're going to start knowing much more the politicians. I know they're not, like, a lot of them aren't in Greenland. They're in Denmark, right? But we're going to start knowing the names of the people that represent this big icy chunk up in the north, because we don't know any of their names, but now they're starting to talk.
Well said. So here's Tillie Martinussen less than 24 hours ago.
Be rich like the Americans are. See how greedy they are. They're even trying to shoot their friends or invade their friends just for greed. And we know that there's minerals and oils possibly in our underground, and that's worth so much more even than that. But even if we didn't have that, we would still not be bought. So everyone here knows about the Inuit in Alaska and all of the native tribes, Indians, American Indians who are there. Their land was taken from them and they haven't been treated that well in America. And we know that Trump is very much surrounding himself, at least with the white power people. And we are not white, as you can see. We are of color. And so we know our rights probably would be taken away. And we also know that we're very good as we are together.
Very good as we are together, she says. Pretty wild stuff, calling him greedy.
Well, she said white power. I was
Right?
like, wow.
He's surrounding himself with the white power people, I think is the way that she put it. Right?
Tell us how you really feel.
So more and more folks are starting to speak up, and you can basically take your pick. If you've been spending your day scrolling on social media, I don't have to tell you that virtually every politician, most particularly leaders within NATO, have made comments on this. Even Beijing goes on the record about Trump and Greenland. Just the other day, you're about to hear the voice of a translator, but this is remarkable. I mean, Trump's talking about the threat from China as one of the reasons, one of the justifications for the Americans acquiring this territory, expanding the territory, which has long been rumored to be a top priority for Donald Trump. And here's the official position from China, talking about the China threat. They're pushing back on it. This is straight from Beijing. Check this out.
Already clarified our positions on Greenland multiple times. The international law based on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter is the foundation of the existing international order. It must be safeguarded. We urge the US side to stop using the so-called China threat to use as a pretext to gain selfish gains.
Stop using the China threat as a pretext for selfish gains. Mm-hmm. Not that everybody trusts what China has to say on everything.
I don't think so, but you know.
But it was interesting that it was specifically referenced and not ignored. Mm-hmm. Right?
There's a lot of right now, like everyone I talk to is like, keep Russia and China out of Canada, and I'm like, that's not how the world works. Like everyone, you know, like
really interesting.
like especially with China, like it's not a thing where like you can't work with China. They literally build everything we use. Like the phone in your hand, like all your electronics, like they're buying so much of our, like, I mean, even with this canola thing, like we're begging them to take our canola. I mean, it's not a thing where we can't work with them. I understand the threats of cybersecurity and national, you know, security and all these things. But China is not someone we can shut out.
Are you able to call up our short with Supriya from yesterday, or do you want me to play it from my laptop? Because she touches on exactly this. Yeah, is my audio ready to rock on here? We'll just play it straight from our YouTube channel. Did you know, friends, that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for free, or you can become a YouTube channel member and receive exclusive perks, including a shot at 2 tickets to check out Death of a Salesman at the Citadel Theater. Thought I'd just squeeze in a shameless plug right there before I reference the shorts chapter or the subheading on our YouTube channel. But here is Supriya Dwivedi on potential Chinese security threats around these so-called spy cars. That's what Doug Ford is calling them, and the justification for dealing with China. Here she is.
Security concerns to keep in mind. Pierre Poilievre has said this, is that in allowing these Chinese EVs onto our roads, we've got essentially little roving surveillance devices that are going to be on our streets. And I think, you know, that's something to be mindful of. I am very concerned about privacy. I always sort of have been. Most cars now are essentially little surveillance vehicles. If you think of the way Tesla's leadership has behaved, I'm talking about Elon Musk in the last little bit, then you may want to question what data gets sent back there. All I guess I'm asking for is a little bit of consistency. I don't think this was the prime minister signaling that he is part of some vast conspiracy, but rather Canada needs to, in light of actions by the US and rhetoric by the US, to look to the rest of the world. The whole reason why we tariffed to begin with was basically because the US asked us to do them a solid and to go in tandem with them. The US hasn't exactly been a steadfast partner and ally ally in a whole bunch of ways. It made sense that we were always going to sort of go this way. I can certainly understand the frustration from Ontario's auto sector or some of the frustration that's been expressed by Premier Doug Ford about what this will do to the domestic market. But the reality is that if our goal is in fact to get more electric vehicles onto the roads and have them displace the combustion type engines, this is the way to do it. There are security concerns to
That is the way to do it, says Supriya in our most recent episode. If you want to check out that full interview, that was the 19th of January.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, and like I said, everyone I know on kind of the other side of the aisle has been saying, like I said, cut Russia and China out of us. Wise Kyle in our chat just now said, want to bet, Johnny, when I was like, you can't not sit at the table with China. Like, yeah. Would North America collapse and implode if we totally cut out China? No. But life would be really hard.
Well, you got to make a
economic
choice.
Collapse wouldn't happen,
If
but
we're
we're talking about energy, food, critical minerals,
and you want
finance,
to
tech,
diversify your trade. The
everything.
United States has not been a reliable trading partner within the last year.
But everything would be more expensive. Everyone would be poorer. Life would be a lot harder.
RS says, I hope that everybody realizes that we're commenting here on the live chat on Chinese-made devices. Goes on to say Trump would treat the people of Greenland the same way that Puerto Ricans are treated. It's just a territory to be exploited. And Alberta would be no different. Just a territory full of oil.
100%. Prices would jump fast. There'd be manufacturing bottlenecks. There'd be labor shortages. There'd be strategic vulnerabilities. Everything would be complicated, hard, and life would suck. And we're already complaining that it is now. Like, you know, I technically love Canada. I love the world we're in right now. My life isn't that hard, but I do realize that it is paycheck to paycheck for a lot of people. I'm not saying I'm rich or anything, but like, if you're already complaining that life is hard and saying we should cut China out, it would just get even harder.
Nia says, and by the way, where do we get our information about China? Mostly from American news sources. How do we even know for sure that anything we've been fed through the American media is accurate or real? I mean, I would say let's not give China a pass. I mean, like the way that the Uyghur population's been treated, the two Michaels being held hostage, essentially, because we did the Americans' bidding on arresting the Huawei executive at the border crossing, or at least in or near Vancouver. Lightning Rod says the real question is, do you trust your government or do you trust corporations?
They're kind of becoming the same thing now, eh? But also, like, I also recognize, like, yeah, you look at China's news, like, obviously they're not telling the truth to their citizens. I get it.
This is not an endorsement of Chinese governance.
Like, all I'm saying is, when everything you're using is produced in a certain country, I mean, it's impossible to cut them out.
Shout out to Simi, who just joined us as a real dealer with a Real Deal membership on YouTube. We sure appreciate that, Simi. Make sure you check out the details on how you can enter to win those Citadel Theater tickets. The deadline is Wednesday. That's the 21st of January at noon Mountain Time. So if you are a Real Talk Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel member, make sure you go ahead and enter there for sure. Explorer Hollis says the two Michaels thing is still wild to me. Two men and we like lost our shit. He says that there's like, you know, hundreds of people, he says, including Canadians, in ICE lockup right now. Yeah, I mean, a compelling point, Hollis, for sure. The two Michaels thing was still is. I mean, I've seen at least one of them. I don't know if it was Kovrig or the other, but they've gone on the record and done interviews talking about Canada's trade deal with China right now and whether or not they feel betrayed by that. Interesting stuff. Hollis, I also saw your difficult comment about the tone of my sweater earlier. Just because I didn't read it on the show doesn't mean it didn't land with me. Hollis doesn't think that this is a flattering color on me with this sweater here. It's kind of. You want to hear something? It's tough for me to. Yeah, go ahead. It's kind of boring. It's behind. I was gonna wear the same sweater. I was gonna, but I wore like this color pants, beige, that you have on. So I went to put a beige sweater over this black shirt. I was like, I'm not going to be a whole beige crayon. All earth tones. But I was this close. We were this close to being two boring beige sweater wearing guys today. There you go. Mark says the CIA would never use phones or cars for surveillance or take over somebody's car. The CIA is so honest and ethical and trustworthy.
And I also see the comments in here, people saying, you know, my TV is made in Japan, my phone is made in Korea.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. Even if you have a Samsung and it was assembled in Korea, because I know a lot of them are, there's no way it doesn't have Chinese parts inside it. It's impossible.
Tommy in our chat says, I am not driving a car that can be shut down from Beijing.
Wow.
From Tommy. I've asked in a tweet from my account at Ryan Jesperson, you know, you can follow Real Talk RJ if you want to get all of our highlights, and then typically I'll respond to them or share my thoughts on them. And I just asked, Johnny, you can show my screen here. I just asked, will you consider a Chinese EV next time you buy a car? There's 49,000 of them that'll be imported into Canada. The tariff has been eased from 100% to 6% for 49,000 Chinese spy cars, if you ask Doug Ford. But Chinese manufactured EVs, and they're going to be cost competitive. I mean, that's just a fact. Russell says the real question is, how do you get an import license to take advantage of this? Is the government holding those for friends, or are they already sold to existing lobbyists? Interesting point. Brad says, I wouldn't buy any EV, let alone a Chinese one. Alberta Dirt Girl, great handle, says, nope, nada, zip, zero, zilch. Not ever going to consider EV at all. Travis says, not for me. Board AF says, sure. I mean, if they're cheaper than a Tesla, but hybrid is the way to go.
So I looked at a list yesterday of like the top 5 that could be coming to Canada.
Yeah.
Also, these cars, Ryan, are literally sitting on docks in China, like
ready to go.
There's no dealerships that sell these cars yet, so they have to figure out how they're going to do it in Canada. But I saw one guy who was like, they could be here in 2 weeks. Like, they literally could be here in 2 weeks. But getting them on lots and selling them, that takes a lot longer. But we could be talking about by the summer, people buying these cars and driving them around. So
Dean says, not where I live. So maybe Dean lives rural, or maybe there's not near a charging station. JR says, yes, I would 100% if there's a place to have it serviced. That's kind of the thing with a lot of these EVs. A lot of people say that, like, but the service schedule is totally, there's no oil changes, there's no brake
I was
pads,
just going to
there's
say
no
that. I mean, it
transmission
does
fluid,
suck when you
there's
have
no-
to service them, but they don't. I mean, there's, like you said, there's no oil changes. There's, you know.
Ryan wonders how many EVs were sold in Western Canada in 2025. How many in all of Canada? Is 50,000 Chinese cars really going to affect anything? The Prime Minister's gone on the record. I think he said it would
up to
represent
70,000,
something,
isn't it?
But didn't he say something like it would represent 4%? I might be off. Fact check yourselves, Real Talkers, off the top of my head.
Over
Prime Minister said it would be something like 4 to 5% of the overall auto sales in Canada annually. So
I think
and
we're
that was in
talking,
response to Doug Ford.
Like, yeah, people are thinking this market's going to be flooded. It's not. It's like, I think it's up to 70,000 over like 4 years, which is, I mean, it's a lot of cars, but it's not domination.
Super Chat Ken says they will easily sell all of those EVs in Vancouver and Toronto. Odds and Sods helping me out. Thanks for your YouTube channel membership, by the way. Says Jespo was 3%. The Prime Minister said 3%. Scotty C, thanks for hopping in our Super Chat. We see you there, and we appreciate you. Rick says there's no chance in hell I'd buy a Chinese EVs. Meantime, Mabe says, yeah, I absolutely would. So it'll be
I
interesting to
don't
see.
mind when people say that, but then I always ask them, I say, why? Why? Why would you not use a Chinese EV?
Scott says, I'm not opposed to allowing these vehicles into Canada from China. What I would have liked to see is a deal similar to the 1965 Auto Pact. Steph M says, living in this province, I wouldn't get an EV. I just bought a new SUV, and I was going to consider the hybrid, but it was out of my price range. That from Steph. See, for a lot of people, it comes down to price. Like, obviously, I would say with vehicle purchases, for most people, it's going to come down to price.
100%.
Right? Like, I'll pick 2 cars at random, but like, why'd you pick the Hyundai over the Mercedes-Benz AMG?
Yeah. And I know,
well,
shout out to
take
our
a
friends
wild guess.
at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. We love you. But at the same time, especially nowadays, people don't really go. I mean, I know there are people who are like, I want this car. I have a love for this make, this model, etc. But the majority of people, especially families, they want certain things in their vehicle.
Yeah.
I want this. I want that.
Yeah.
I know that this bothers me on the way to work, so I need that, whatever it is. And if you go to buy a vehicle, especially an electric one, and then somebody else is like, this one's $15,000 cheaper, I mean, what are you going to do?
Walkin Campbell's cat is in our chat and says, do your research, educate yourselves. Alberta independence is the future of Alberta.
Wow.
Walkin Campbell's cat, I guarantee it is not. I very rarely guarantee something, but I guarantee that Alberta's future is not as independent from Canada.
You go down that road, no matter which side you're on for separation, it's just heartbreak. Because it's heartbreak for me. Like when you're like, let's have the vote tomorrow. I'm of the same vein. Let's do it. Let's vote tomorrow. Let's see it. But for me to even see that 1 in 4 Albertans want to leave this country would still make me so depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I was meeting with one of the most conservative friends that I know yesterday for lunch. Grabbed a great lunch together. This guy is like capital C. As a matter of fact, this guy is all caps conservative. And I asked him if the organization that he works with, which I will not name at this point, because they didn't ask to be dragged into this, and it was an off-the-record lunch. But I asked if the organization would be getting involved in Alberta independence in any way, shape, or form, either supporting it or fighting against it. And he looked at me and he said, are you crazy? And I said, what are you talking about? He says, it's the worst idea. I said, the worst idea? I said, I'll be honest, I haven't had a beer with this guy for like 6 months. So I said, I was a little surprised to hear that. I said, I wasn't sure where you'd land on it. And he says, bro. He didn't say bro. This guy's a business guy, entrepreneur, mover and a shaker, the type of person you need participating in your economy as an employer and as a revenue driver. And the guy's good stuff. This guy's good stuff. He said even talk about having a referendum is having a detrimental impact on so many businesses. And then he just started rattling off. He's like, international investment, investment certainty, future planning, real estate markets. He just started listing
all
off.
Of it. I agree.
Said it's a terrible idea.
You know who else agrees? Our premier.
Well, so she says. So she says. Michaela is watching us on Facebook and says, recalls are our democratic tool to hold politicians accountable. Keep going, Alberta. 80s Fanify says Alberta separation is a punchline.
Should we
what?
Get everyone angry and end with a Newsom clip here?
You want to go to Gavin Newsom? I can't resist an opportunity to pump the tires of one of our presenting sponsors. Noob says, I do love the Hyundai and the Kia and the Genesis that they're rolling out. Is that Genesis plural? Genesis? Says they're doing some really cool stuff, but they ain't no Merc. And Metamodern, I owe you guys this. I keep some things close to my chest, but I'll tell you this one. Metamodern says, Jessica, please tell me that they provided you the AMG trim package in exchange for your endorsement. I'm driving the GLE 53, the AMG, and
very
it is
nice car.
The sexiest vehicle that I've ever driven in my life, and it's an absolute rocket ship.
You walk by, you turn into a puddle. You just melt.
And this, after I told you guys I had a tough year with tickets, law enforcement and I had a strained relationship.
It's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy. They're running my plates. They know who I am. They disagree with my political opinions, and they've been targeting me. No, the truth is that I was speeding on a number of occasions, as a matter of fact, and I had to pay the price. And so now I'm strapped into this rocket ship every single day, and I'm exercising self-control that I think should impress every single person listening to this episode.
I'm telling you, Chinese EVs are cool. I was looking at them yesterday. I was checking out some YouTube videos of the BYDs and all these companies that nobody's ever heard of that are going to be here. I'm telling you, this summer, you may see one on the road. You may start seeing them around. I guarantee they're coming. But, man, the Mercedes, and I'll say other names, even though Mercedes is our guys, like the Cadillacs, like Canadian-made ones, manufactured or at least assembled. The luxury ones are just so much nicer. And they are they're just made for like comfort, and you get inside them and it's just like you said, it's like it being in a rocket ship.
Super Chat Ken says our premier is a separatist. You don't change laws twice to make separatist referendums easier if you believe in Canada. Also, we asked her point blank, last time on the show, December 9th, I believe, December 9th. Straight up asked her. And if you want to see what she said to answer, you can check out that interview. One of you says Danielle Smith has no choice but to sit on the fence here. Some of you are not sold that I'm showing self-control and restraint behind the wheel, but Nia says that they're proud of me, so I appreciate that.
He is showing restraint.
Noob says I need to get a laser jammer.
But he also... he's got to get where he's got to get on time.
I should tell this story. This is not. I won't. We'll get to Gavin Newsom and then we'll wrap. But I one of the funniest Noob on a laser jammer, a radar detector, or what have you. This is so. You guys, honestly, these are cell phones. I shared with you yesterday $500 in parking tickets during the seasonal parking ban, and I'll tell you about the biggest ticket that I got last year. It happened because I rolled up hot. This is such an asshole move. I acknowledge, but I was. And no one wants to hear excuses. And I acknowledge I paid the ticket. Okay. I paid the ticket. Didn't challenge it in court. I paid it. But I did have an emergency, a career related emergency that I was trying to get to. And there was an F-150 that was blocking the passing lane on the QE2. So I rolled up behind them and started flashing my high beams. Police officer. Yeah. Not my best moment behind the wheel. Not my finest moment. And many of you will argue that I got what I deserved in that circumstance. And guess what? I agree.
Could also be because you're driving such a nice vehicle. I
was driving a different vehicle in that circumstance.
Okay. Yeah. But it was still a nice one.
Yeah, it was a nice one, but it was 13 years old.
I drive a crappy vehicle. It's gray. It's, I'm very nonchalant. Like, even if I'm going a little over the limit, an officer sitting on the side of the road would probably be like, this guy's getting to work.
Yeah.
And I can tell he can't afford if I give him a ticket because that 20-year-old piece of crap he's driving is just being held together with tape.
Oh, Aaron just says, OMG, you guys. And Simi, we'll wrap with this, says Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West is the absolutely best. My parents only buy from them, and they are amazing people who work there. And Simi, I totally agree.
Hear, hear.
Let's get to this. This is California's Governor Gavin Newsom. Everybody, he's widely expected to seek the Democratic nomination to run for president in 2028. He is in Davos. He's at the... Do you have your drink ready? He's at the World Economic Forum of the WEF. And here's what he had to say about the President of the United States.
The Europeans should decide for themselves what to do. But one thing they can't do is what they've been doing. And they've been playing. This guy is playing folks for fools. And it's embarrassing.
Europeans think this is diplomacy and this will ultimately
this is
work.
Diplomacy with Donald Trump? He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you. One or the other.
And Europe's being
people
devoured?
need to stand. No, the Europeans could be if they continue to go down this path in the process. They need to stand tall, stand firm, stand united. Well, look, you said this a year ago. We should have been having this conversation, and they didn't. Okay, and now you're paying the price. Exactly what anyone objective observer would have anticipated we'd be where we are today.
What do you think your underlying response that would lead to the end of the European Union?
Well, I don't want to be hyperbolic about it, but this guy's a wrecking ball. I hope people are waking up to what we're dealing with. This is code red. I mean, you guys are still playing by all set of rules. Everybody, the globe is with this guy. He's unmoored. It's the law of the jungle. It's the rule of dawn. And I hope it's dawning on the world what we're up against. I mean, this is serious. This guy is, he's not mad. He's very intentional, but he's unmoored and he's unhinged. And it requires you. The goal is whatever he wants it to be. The goal is the world in his image.
What would your
He's
advice?
a narcissist. I mean, it's no advice. Common sense. Why don't folks do what they say publicly, what they're saying in private? Why don't they just simply do what they know is right? I mean, these guys, everybody's talking behind his back. They're laughing at him. Meanwhile, they're sucking up to him. It's embarrassing. I mean, you're modeling behavior for our kids, generations of folks. This is not diplomacy. This is stupidity.
Not diplomacy, stupidity. He's like a T-Rex. You either mate with him or you die.
Was that a small hands jab at the same time?
Oh, small arms, small hands.
Yeah, because Trump hates
it.
That
might have
too.
been.
That is.
Steph says Newsom's right. Mark just says, "Ouch." Tony says, "Pretty sure Newsom's going to win the Democratic primary." Anyway, I thought it was remarkable. I mean, that's the governor of California talking about the president of the United States. I've seen political opposition. So have all of you. I mean, it's, obviously how it all works.
Yeah.
But this is another level, right? Saying that, he's playing you all for fools. This is embarrassing. He's playing by a new set of rules. You're all playing by the old set of rules. I mean, and he's not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, he's clearly posturing for the nom, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild in what? It feels like it's going to be another 10 years, but it's only, 2.5? 3 years?
Hold on, everybody. Keep the faith.
Him and AOC.
We promise to be here with you.
On a ticket.
And we'll take you through it all. Perpetually curious, seeking to understand. That's our promise to you.
I do want to say Tillie Martinussen, I hope I'm saying that right, the politician we talked about. She is not from Denmark. She's a
born
and raised in Greenland.
Yeah, Greenlandic politician.
I think we could tell that from the video, but just to our listeners, because I was saying a lot of the politicians are from Denmark that represent Greenland. She is born and raised in Nuuk, Nook.
Yeah,
in Greenland.
We have a couple of contributors in our live chat today that are doing everything they can to convince our live tuning audience to support Alberta separation. I admire your conviction, guys. I admire your participation in the democratic process. I'm not going to hurl insults your way because we see Alberta's future differently. But I will say a movement that can't be stopped. Just watch us. And as we wrap this episode of the show, I want to remind you, friends, that we still have 2 spots available for teams in the Real Talk Pond Hockey Classic. Check it out here. This is drone footage shot by one of our very own. That's Noob Try Again in the chat. We've also had Steve Ricketts contribute his talents too. Carly Watson, a brilliant photographer, friends of the show that have helped us capture this absolutely magical gathering. It'll be the 31st of January. That's a Saturday in St. Albert. Get your team registered today on the events link at ryanjesperson.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson. Executive producer Josh Dunford. Technical producer John Hicks. General manager Katie Cook-Chivers. Account coordinator Lawrence Derlego. Human resources Lena Shepard. Website design Mike Johnston. Voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton. Member Emerita Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.